In today's episode of the Pathway Presents podcast, I have a very interesting guest with me here today. I'm with Jeff Hyde, who is the director of growth at Hawke Media. And Hawke Media has been, I'd say in the marketing space, a pretty, fast-growing company, very interesting players in the market. And today I'm very curious to talk with Jeff about whom Hawke is really serving, what they're really doing, and how he's thinking about growth, given, that's what he's really focusing on. So, Jeff, welcome to the show.
Hi, Lucas. Thank you so much for having me.
Very good. So, tell us about Hawk a little bit, through your lens. Like, what is it all about?
Sure, absolutely. So Hawke Media, we're a full service marketing consultancy. We've been around for about 7 years. We're up to about 200 people now, mostly based in California, but really nationwide and international. And we basically have a suite of marketing services that we deliver on an a la carte and month-to-month basis. So our mission is to make great marketing accessible to everyone. And we do that with sort of our flexible model that is set to grow and scale with you as you grow and scale. So we basically act as an outsourced arm or extension of your marketing team. And my role as a director of growth, I really split my time between basically working with new clients on their marketing strategies, and then I manage current clients and their marketing strategies to help grow their business, whether that's direct to consumer, e-commerce, or business to business, or financial services.
Gotcha. What types of companies do you typically interact with? You mentioned a couple of examples there, e-commerce, but is that, large scale companies, smaller companies? What is it? Does it run the gamut? Maybe tell us a little bit about sort of the daily business.
Yeah, for sure. So we really plug in and can work with companies from all types of sizes. So we have launched brands and done sort of branding pre-launch. We have worked with startups, Series A, and then we work all the way up to corporations and Fortune 500. So that's really the beauty of our model, is that we can sort of plug in and really take over as much or as little as you want. I would say typically our clients are usually in somewhere around the $5 to $20 million annual range. Again, that can be sometimes Series A, sometimes pre-seed, but really across all different verticals. So I have brands in apparel, jewelry, direct consumer, e-commerce. My background is really in a lot of B2B and SaaS. I'm from the Boston area where a lot of those companies are headquartered. So I love personally B2B and SaaS companies. And then I have a fair amount of financial service clients as well. So we really work across all industries.
Gotcha. And who would you typically be interacting with? Because obviously on the one side, you're kind of an outsourced CMO. On the other hand, there might be probably some CMOs there already. Like who do you interact with within those companies?
Yeah, so we're really an extension of clients' marketing teams. So a lot of times we are interfacing directly with the CMO as sort of our main point of contact, or a marketing manager. Sometimes people come to us for a really specific need. Sometimes they come to us to manage all aspects of their digital strategy. So for some clients, like we just manage their paid search or their paid social, like we're a top 10 Google and Facebook partner. So we sort of plug in and fill that gap. For other clients, we act as like their outsourced CMO, and we might be working directly with the CEO if it's a smaller business. Sometimes we work with the director of lead generation. So it sort of depends what level the business and what growth stage they're at and how robust they are internally. But we're pretty flexible at the end of the day.
Very cool. So let's talk a little bit about your role, right? You're heading up growth, director of growth. So what is sort of the channels that you're tapping into growing Hawke by itself? Like, how do you think about that?
Yep. So my goal is really twofold. One, to help grow Hawke business, and the way I do that is to help our clients grow their businesses. So I pride myself on having pretty long-term relationships with our clients and being a pretty valued partner. You asked me, how does Hawke grow our business? Was that correct? Yeah. So we have a full business development team, which I sit on. So we basically have, I'd say, 4 main sales channels. We're a marketing company, so we like to think we do our own marketing pretty well. So we have, of course, like inbound leads and lead generation. We have a big partnerships program. We are partners with plenty of technology companies, service providers, the Facebook, Google, Klaviyo's, fulfillment, inventory companies of the world. So we both share and receive leads and companies with them. We have a really strong BDR, outbound sales team, who basically they look for great companies for us to partner with. And then we do a lot of our sort of like networking and referral events. So I try to, engage in thought leadership, publish articles on LinkedIn, do speaking engagements like this, that help really establish us as like a thought leader and resource in the industry.
Okay. Seems like a very, very healthy mix that you guys have set up there. I'm curious though, obviously, because I mentioned we talk a lot about websites in the Pathmark Presents podcast. I'm curious, what role do you attribute to Hawke's websites? Like what role does it play in the mix that you just described?
Yeah, we have an internal marketing team who's part of our business development team, and they are responsible for the Hawke, maintaining the Hawke website, and our case studies and form fills and lead generation. So the website's a pretty integral piece. I imagine any prospects or people exploring Hawke, they of course come to our website first. And yeah, among our other lead generation sources, it's probably number one. Form fills. We do free marketing consultation requests, actually, where anyone can submit, say, hey, I want a marketing consultation for my business, and I'll have a 30-minute phone call with them to basically sort of learn about their business and sort of recommend best practices or areas of success where I've seen in their industry.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. Let's switch gears a little bit, getting back to sort of the services that you guys are providing, right? For everybody who's listening in, what would you say is something that you can get with Hawke that is kind of difficult to get somewhere else?
Yeah, so our model, first of all, is different. All of our contracts by nature, we do have long-term contracts, but everything is a la carte and month to month. So people ask us what the Hawke specialty is. The Hawke specialty is really an accelerating growth for your business. So we do that through our a la carte and month-to-month model so that we can basically plug in and recommend the service or services that will move the needle the most for your business. So whether you're trying to sell more product, generate more leads, whatever that is, that's how we do that. Our core channels are probably like, I would say, creative and branding. We have a full branding, strategy, creative, web design team. We have a full content team, so photo, video, written blog content, etc. We have a full media buying team, so that's our Google ads, Facebook ads, Instagram, programmatic native. And then we have what we call like a life cycle department. So that's email, SMS, retention, life cycle, affiliate marketing strategies.
Interesting. That's very, very well rounded. What I would be curious, right? If we're moving slightly away from just talking about the company in itself, I would be curious more to learn sort of about, your learnings in your journey. What would you say is sort of, especially thinking about the clients, right, that you guys are working with on a daily basis, what is the biggest challenge in marketing when it comes to bringing in innovation?
Sure. So my background is in client services. I've worked for about 10 years in the agency world. I actually co-founded and ran my own small business. So I've always sort of worked in the client services world. I would say the two biggest challenges in this world, one is like maybe more of a soft skill and one is more of a hard skill. So I would say the biggest challenge in this world is always communication and expectations, like setting client expectations, being proactive, communicating directly, openly, honestly. Like at the end of the day, this is a people-based business, and we are communicating with people on the client end. So communication is one. The biggest challenge in digital marketing, which is more on the technical side, is attribution. So attribution and tracking, whether it's through Facebook Ads Manager, Google Ads, Google Analytics, every client may have a different attribution methodology. All of these things are changing on a daily basis with Google cookies and Facebook iOS 14. Luckily, we're sort of on the tip of the spear. We have like full-time agency reps at Google and Facebook who are training our media buyers, but it's always a challenge with clients because, we're seeing one set of numbers in Facebook, they're seeing a different set of numbers on their back end. So at the end of the day, whether it's looking at like a blended return on ad spend or a blended customer acquisition cost or a blended cost per lead, that's the challenge, is attribution and tracking.
Makes sense. And especially, since you guys are working with a lot of clients there, what would you say is the biggest challenge when it comes to sort of talking or showing return on investment?
Yeah. So what we try to do is at the start of every engagement, we align on basically what the goals are, and then sort of what the success metrics are, how we're going to measure those goals. And in doing so, we measure and align on basically an attribution methodology. So I'm sorry, I'm forgetting that. Can you say the question one more time,
Yeah,
Lucas?
sure. To showing return on investment, right?
Got it. Yep.
Obviously. Mhm.
Yep. So we will again align on what those goals and methodology should be. At the end of the day, most of our contracts, like I said, are month to month. So we're really earning the business every month.
Yeah.
And people stay with us for a long time. So obviously, like, not to be facetious, but we're doing something right because we are growing our business and we're growing your business. But again, I'd say we demonstrate that ROI through, you know, incrementality, whether that's incremental leads, whether that's incremental revenue from a new sales channel, but that's how we can really demonstrate growth in the business.
Makes sense. Last question, sort of that type of nature. Where do you see, especially since you've seen a lot of websites, a lot of companies aiming to try to grow digitally? What do you think comes to mind when I ask you about the biggest challenge when it comes to conversion optimization on the pages?
Yeah, so I think having a good website is really first and foremost. So like we always measure conversion rate on site, whether that's an e-commerce purchase rate or a form fill. So like you need to know what your conversion rate is and what a good benchmark rate is. Typically on e-com, that's about 3%, probably a little bit different on B2B. So how to optimize that? I mean, make your call to actions clear, make your form fills easier. I'm really a fan of industry specific targeting or industry specific landing pages. So, if you have a clear cut service offering towards financial services firms, you should have a landing page for financial services where people can land on that. And there's a clear call to action or form fill for people from that industry.
Okay, super, super interesting. When you're getting started with a client, right? Like, where do you look at first? Do you look at sort of the roadmap? Do you spin out like initial growth initiatives? Do you, work on messaging? Do you deep dive into reporting? Like, what's the starting point where you turn?
Yeah, it all depends on where that client is. It all depends on where that client is in their business stage, really, and what they're trying to accomplish. So where are they? What have they done? What are their goals moving forward? From there, we can basically prescribe a set of recommendations or channels. But again, everything is data driven. So, whether that's getting access to Google Analytics, I have a set of best practices for clients. We've worked with over 3,000 brands, so we know sort of what works and what doesn't. But again, it's knowing where you are, where you've been, and then where you want to be. And from there, we can sort of prescribe a set of channels or recommendations.
Very cool. Let's switch gears a little bit. Talk about you personally and your sort of journey. Since there's a lot of content on marketing out there, right? You're yourself contributing to it as a thought leader. I would be curious though, where do you go to educate yourself, or how do you filter, what to actually sort of listen to?
Yeah, I try to educate myself, through industry blogs, American market, LinkedIn groups, American Marketing Association, whatever that is. Also, honestly, I try to do a lot of networking and talk to as many people as possible. I'm also a fan of like linking up sort of my clients and brand owners to talk to one another without me there, because I think even if you're talking to someone in a different vertical or business, you can gain insights from how they handle customer service, or how they handle inventory or fulfillment, or how they handle lead generation. So I consider myself a lifelong learner, and basically always listening and learning. I mean, look, I'll watch a free tutorial on YouTube, or I'll Google how to do something and sit there and read it. So I'm pretty proactive with that stuff. I wouldn't say there's a single dedicated place I go for that, but I'm always looking for new insights.
Okay. Since we're coming to an end of the interview, I want to jump into our rapid fire questions. You ready for those?
Yes.
Very good. What's the last book that you read?
The last book that I read, I'm looking over to it now. Hold on, let me pull it up right here, because I forget the title. Edward Abbey, Desert Solitaire, A Season in the Wilderness. Sorry, you can't see it right here.
Very good. Perfect. What's the one single thing your company is focused on the most at the moment?
Accelerating growth for businesses and making great marketing accessible to everyone.
That was like shot like out of a gun. Very good. Very good. If there would be no boundaries in technology, what's the one thing you would wanted to have fixed for your role today?
Attribution and tracking.
What's the last thing that kept you awake at night about the company?
About the company.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always, honestly, I get thoughts about my clients and projects at 10 p.m. at night, at 7 a.m. in the shower. So I can't really turn my brain off about thinking about challenges and growth.
Okay. And if today would be your very first day with Hawke, what's the one advice that you would give yourself?
Be proactive.
Very good. Very good. So, Jeff, I really appreciate we are already, coming to the end of the interview. I really appreciate that you took the time with us, shared a little bit about Hawke, shared a little bit about your journey. So I want to give you the very last word, right? If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed about Hawke today, what's the one thing that they should remember about the company?
Yeah, I mean, our mission is to make great marketing accessible to everyone. We are the marketing experts, so come to us. I'm always exploring new channels and opportunities. One of those I'm really excited about is connected TV, CTV ads. So, I would love to get some CTV campaigns going for more clients, which we're doing on. So yeah, I'm always happy to chat marketing, growth, business, anything.
Very cool. Thanks for being a guest on Pathon Presents.
Thank you, Lucas.